Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the Through the Night question and answer session. As you know, this movie has just premiered tonight. It's absolutely amazing. My name is April Rain. I'm the creator of Oscar So White, and I'm so happy to be part of this conversation. Through the Night is a cinema verite portrait of three working New York mothers whose lives intersect in a 24-hour daycare center. A mother working the overnight shift as an essential worker at a hospital, another holding down three jobs to support her family, and a woman who for over 2 decades has cared for the children of parents with nowhere else to turn. I'm so thankful tonight that we have people in front of and behind the camera to have these incredible conversations. So I'm asking you to stay with me and remember that if you're interested in viewing the film, you can absolutely buy your tickets at throughthenightfilm.com/events. And through is spelled THROUGH, throughthenightfilm.com/events. So let's get started and get into some of these questions. First of all, we have Loira Limbal, who is our director and producer of the film Through the Night. We also have Dolores Hogan and Patrick Hogan, who you will know if you've seen the film or will understand from the film are our Nunu and Pop Pop from, who are the family daycare owners. And we also have Marisol Valencia, who is another working mother whose children have grown up at D's Tots. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I would
You,
love,
April.
absolutely. Loida, I love to start with you. I mean, this film has received amazing reviews and has already garnered several awards and nominations. It's nominated for an IDA Award, a Cinema Eye Honor Spotlight Award, a New York Times Critics Pick, and you've qualified for the Academy Awards, what people consider the big ones, right? The Oscars. What inspired you to make the film, and why do you think it has resonated with audiences the way it has?
Oh, yes. Well, thank you again, April, for being here with us tonight. And yes, this is a joyous occasion. Tonight is our theatrical premiere in such a whirlwind year. So it's really special to be here tonight. There was so much uncertainty with the release of the film happening, in the midst of COVID. So I don't take this moment lightly or take it for granted. I'm truly grateful to be able to be here with you all. In terms of your question and the inspiration for the film, I learned about Nunu and Patrick's daycare through an article that I read online in a mother's group that I'm a part of. I'm a mother myself. I have a 7 and a 9-year-old. And when I read the sort of the profiles that were in the article, the focus of the article was really looking at the fact that increasingly in the United States, people have to work multiple jobs to make ends meet. Many of those jobs require overnight hours or just sort of irregular schedules that change from day to day, week to week. And the article posed the question of, given that reality, who looks after the children, right? And as I read the profile of the daycare and of the parents whose children were at the daycare, I was immediately brought back to my own childhood because my mother raised us as a single working mother. She worked the night shift. She was a caregiver herself. She worked as a home health aide, and raised us making minimum wage, 4 kids in New York City, right? And so it just struck, a really deep chord with me, knowing that this was my mother's story, but really that it's the story of many Black and Latinx working class women. It's the story of so many women in our communities. And then just feeling like these stories are common, but they're invisible. And as a filmmaker, being really moved and just felt like I wanted to tell this story and make this universe that I know so intimately visible, right, to the mainstream audience and the mainstream world, but really to ourselves. I wanted to create a portrait of our everyday lives that we could sort of look at and be able to see like our everyday lives reflected, back to us.
Absolutely. And I operate from a place of privilege. My kids are now 17 and 21, so daycare feels like a lifetime behind us. But, we did have to take care of the daycare system for both of our kids because both my husband and I worked outside of the home. And, those who use the daycare system don't often think about the daycare workers who very often have kids of their own, right? And so, yeah, we had to be there by 6 o'clock because at 6:01, it was $1 a minute that we had to pay in those late fees. But that's also because those folks who worked as daycare workers, whom I believe are essential workers, had to get home to their own families, And so I would love to turn the spotlight for just a second on Marisol and ask you, what was it like? We've got, A-list celebrities all the time, who are used to being in front of the camera, but this was a new experience for you. So how did you and your daughter like being filmed, and what was sort of the strangest part about being on camera the way that you were?
Well, I wanted to show something that this is how the reality of a single mom are going through, and I want everybody to know that it's not easy doing working and raising kids at the same time. This is I It was kind of weird, but I had to show who I am as a single mom, that we work hard for our kids, and it's a favorite, like it's a, it was weird, but we had to show who we are.
And that authenticity absolutely came through in the film. I'm so glad we had Loida who was able to capture that, right? Because I mean, these are the stories that need to be told, the stories about real people, how they are getting through on a day-to-day basis. And Dolores, I'd love to come to you and ask you the same question. What was it like being filmed for you?
Nunu. You can call me Nunu.
Thank you. I didn't want, I wanted permission to be able to do that.
No, you can call me Nunu. I love that name. My babies gave it to me, so that's who I like to be called by. um, was it? It was actually, I was glad because I really wanted, I wanted people and politicians and everybody out there to see what we go through. We're not just babysitters. We are here raising your children, and we are here to um, teach them while you're not here. And we're here to give them love and show them love and teach them how to love in this world, because God knows that's what this world needs. And so that's something that we do. And for me being filmed, it kind of like, it didn't bother me at all because it was just so easy. Maybe if it wasn't Lorna, but if it was somebody else, it might have. But she made things really easy for us, as if this is just our everyday way of life. And that's exactly what she wanted to see. What do you do every day? No changes, don't ad lib or anything, which we wasn't going to do that. We wanted to show her exactly what was going on. And she didn't try to say, well, do it this way or do it that way. She wanted to see exactly what we did and how we did it. And that's what we showed. And I was happy that she knocked on my door, because if it wasn't for her, this wouldn't be out, information about what it is about daycare, what mothers go through, and single working mothers go through, and what the daycare providers have to go through. So I thank God for her knocking on my door. I call her my angel.
I love that. And it's so important that there was a relationship and an understanding and a trust, right, between the filmmaker and participants so that you would feel comfortable letting your guard down and being as transparent as you were. Now, Patrick or Pop Pop, I'd love to ask you, how do you feel about having your life out there for the world to see? We can turn our cameras off and close our laptops or turn off our phones, and that's it. But you truly invited people into your world. And so how does that feel?
It felt great. We enjoyed it. We're humbled by the response, by the great words from everyone, the love. And as they said, just putting it out there, letting people know. I mean, we're not unique. This is not a one-off situation. This goes on in many, many, many homes. I guess the uniqueness would be it's a home away from home. The children are home away from home. But it was as Nunu said, we didn't feel any different because we were going to be us. We weren't going to put on any airs, pretend. Make it reality. We were going to be ourselves, so it was easy, it was fun, and it was enjoyable, definitely.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah, I have no shame saying that I know that our daycare providers taught our children, how to potty train, and began to teach them how to read because very often they were with our children more of the waking hours during the day than my husband and I were. And again, I had someone at home to help me, and I can't imagine, the tension that a single parent has to go through in being able to work a full shift and then come home and take off one hat and put on a different hat and then become full-time parent to one or more children every single night. It's an amazing amount of stress, and that came through, but the love also came through, right? And the need to be able to provide for your children. And so thank goodness we have people like Patrick and Nunu who, make those children their own every single day and care for them as if they're their own. Loida, I'd love to come back to you. And in addition to Through the Night film, you've recently been selected as a Sundance Momentum Fellow and a DOC New York City documentary new leader. That's amazing. We're so proud of you for those accolades. Where do you see your work fitting into the overall independent documentary world?
Yeah, so I've been in this space for a number of years. I made one film about 11 years ago. And then in the time in between, I've been working full-time job at Firelight Media, actually supporting the careers of other filmmakers of color, because I really believe in a very fundamental way that the stories that we tell are the foundation, right, of the belief systems of a society. And even if like bringing it back to children, like when you're trying to explain something to children who are new in the world, right, and learning how things work, we often rely on stories to communicate values, to communicate rules, both the spoken and the unspoken rules, of a society. All of that comes through in story. And so I really believe that the stories we tell are fundamental and uphold the systems that sort of organize our society, whether those are humane systems or inhumane systems. They're still upheld, right, by stories. And so I've been doing this work of supporting storytellers of color because the stories that we have in the United States have been told from one side, and we're an extremely diverse country, and many sides of the story have not been told, and so we have at best incomplete stories about who we are, and at worst we have inaccurate and harmful narratives about who we are. And so I definitely see my work fitting within that space of believing in the importance of story and storytelling. And I'm particularly interested. I feel like I have a couple more films in me about mothers and motherhood and mothering, and work, because I come from, a low, quote unquote, low income community of color. And I see the ways in which sometimes both the mainstream, but even our movements miss us, right? And they sort of miss the our everyday and the issues that disproportionately impact women of color from low income and working class communities. So And I have a soft spot for that because I feel like that's a gap, again, both in the mainstream outside of our communities, but even in movement spaces that are focused on our communities, we go unnoticed, right? And uncared for. And so that's a special, interest of mine. And I hope to be able to tell a few more stories, in that range.
We are definitely looking forward to that because there are so many untold stories, as you mentioned. I mean, the maternal mortality rate of Black women is a multiplier of
Yep.
white women and other women. And so those stories as well need to be told. So even when we have
Yeah.
healthcare, we don't necessarily know that we can rely on it. Serena
Yep.
Williams, is incredibly wealthy and has all types of resources, and yet she tells a story that she nearly died soon after childbirth because she was not believed. So I'm not sure if that's going to be one of the types of stories you tell, but there are so many out there, and I'm so thankful that you're going to stay in this genre a little bit longer. As folks know, we are talking about Through the Night Film. You can get your tickets at throughthenightfilm.com/events. We are broadcasting live right now on Facebook. And in fact, we've got a question from Facebook, which is, how many kids do Patrick and Nunu work with? And what is their age range? Nunu, can you take that one?
Well, we are a 24-hour daycare, 7 days a week, and we can have up to 36 kids in our daycare throughout the week, throughout the whole entire week. But we only can have 16 at one time. So going through my door right now, before it was like 36, going in and out the door throughout the week and the days. But now we're just like down to 14 throughout the days and the week. And the age range from 6 weeks to 13 years of age. And if you special needs, is 16.
So I mean, that's another thing that I think people don't think about. I mean, it's not just daycare in the sense that you're caring for young ones, infants and toddlers. Very often it's aftercare, which we had to use as well. When kids get out of elementary school at 3 o'clock, but your workday doesn't end until 6 or later, what do you do in that time when your kid, especially I was a latchkey kid, 1,000 years ago, right? And so we used to wear the key around the neck and go home. There's some communities in which a lot of communities in which we don't feel safe to do that anymore with our children. And so what do you do, in that gap period? And so it is people like Nunu and Patrick who will care for and love and watch your kids until you have the opportunity to get to them in the evenings. And as you say, if people are working third shift, their day may not start until 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. And then what do you do? Because you can't leave, a child at home alone at night, but you still have to go to that job and make that salary so that, you can keep your children housed and fed and everything else. So, I love that Through the Night tells the story that it's not just a 9 to 6, it's not just the cute little babies, it's everybody who is involved in the system, and the lack of support very often that daycare and essential workers don't get, right, from the state, from the city, to keep the lights on, to keep the children fed, and to provide more resources for you all. I see you there, wearing your mask, and we thank you for keeping everyone safe, but that's also got to be incredibly difficult for you as well. Marisol, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about what it's been like during this period, during the coronavirus, when, you're attempting to keep yourself and your child healthy, but still go to work and so on.
Well, ever since the pandemic, the school was closed, and they have been in daycare ever since then. I work from 6 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. I don't see my kids until like 11 o'clock, like 10:30. And I've been working more, but like I said, I try as much as I, you try to take your clothes as soon as you come home, you spray like Lysol all over, making sure that you don't get infected. Because I work as a vendor and also work in a supermarket.
So you are absolutely an essential worker. And, and that's the thing, yes, you want to close the schools to keep the children safe, but at the same time, then what do you do with those children all day long? The parents still have to go to work. Very often they can't be at home with their kids, to help them turn on their laptop so they can get their lessons and so on, because you can't change your hours just because the hours of the school may have changed or been cut off altogether. Nunu, a question for you from Facebook is, do you have enough PPE and support from the city and state? I can kind of guess what that question is, but I'd love to hear it from your mouth.
Well, the state try to give us as much as they possibly can. I have to give them that. They give out hand sanitizer and different stuff like that. But the point, and that's once a month. But the point is, you still need as much as you possibly can get your hands on, because you're around children 24/7. Children are around you. So you just need to keep everything as clean as possible. And the way the world is now, you can't really get anything. When you go out there looking for certain things, you can't find it. So you kind of like improvising with cleaning and trying to keep things clean. But I can't knock too much of the state for what they've been doing when it comes to things like that. When it comes to the Child Care Council, they have been really trying to help the providers as much as they possibly can in this. And I'm saying the Child Care Council. I'm not actually saying the state. I'm saying the council that helps the mother find providers, help the mothers, you know, um, and with certain programs and different things for their children. That's what the Child Care Council is.
Absolutely. Patrick, I'd love to hear from you as well, and ask how COVID has impacted your work on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis.
Well, on the cleaning side, we've always cleaned from day one.
Right.
Any reputable childcare, home-based business, or even childcare center, we're home-based, so we're not a center, we're home-based. From day one is going to make sure everything stays clean. And that's for the safety of the children, that's for the safety of your own family, in terms of sanitizing the clothes there, the toys daily, the bed linens, things like that, mopping, sweeping. Obviously, we have to wear these all the time, so that does become annoying sometimes, but we understand this keeps us here another day. I'd rather be here another day with this on as opposed to, laying flat out with nothing. All right. But it's challenging too. Every time the kids come in or the parents come in, we take the temperatures, record that down. The last time I actually shook somebody's hand besides one of the kids here was probably back in March when this all started. I'll get this close to somebody and that's it. So you have to be cognizant of the fact of what you're doing. We've been to funerals and stuff like that, no hugging and stuff like that, even though you want to. And so it's altered some things, but if you keep it in the back of your mind that you're protecting not only yourself, but the next person, and hopefully for us to see another day, then it's just something that we have to deal with, and soon enough we'll get through it.
I think that's right. Marisol, did you have something you want to add there, please?
I also want to say that my company and also the supermarket where I work at, they do give us face masks. They do give us hand sanitizer to protect us at work. Try to have 6 feet distance, which is kind of hard, but we always try to do the best we can.
Absolutely. And Patrick, I mean, you bring up the fact that, we love interaction, and I'm sure you all working with kids every single day, the first thing they want to do is hug you around the knee, the kneecaps, or you want to give them a high five or something. And it's difficult to do that, to have that amount of separation. And I'm so thankful that you all are mindful, of what we're going through right now, and keeping yourselves and the children healthy, because we need you, and so I'd like to go back to Marisol for just a second. We're almost out of time, unfortunately, but I'd like to ask you one more question from Facebook, Marisol, which says, how did you choose these tots, and how much has the experience enhanced your life and your daughter's life, having them available to you?
Well, how I came part of the daycare was, um, Patrick's cousin was a crossing guard, and she knew the struggling that I was going through. Um, I had my daughter. I was exactly a single mom as in April 13, 2012 or 13. Um, and she saw my strugglings, and I had before I came to daycare, I had like 5 different daycares, 5 different people of my family members, but they couldn't keep up because they were always, judging me, that leaving my kids, but I had to work. So I told my story to Patrick's cousin, and she told me there's a daycare, and uh, I'm gonna try to ask her if she could put you in because she's gonna help you a lot. And that's how I became part of the daycare. My experience with the daycare has been a bless. I always recommend God, please help me out. And they blessed me with the best daycare. I never thought that I was gonna put my kids in daycare, but that was the best. And I always tell God, please um, give me please give me strength, and please give me the guidance. Please give me the peace, the and when I came into daycare, I felt peace and calm, and I knew that my kids were gonna be in good health, in good hands, And then she became a mother to me because it wasn't because of her. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do now. And my kids love her to death. And like I said, she's like my mom. My mom is not the one who gave you birth, is the one who's been there in good. I'm sorry, good and bad time, and who's encouraged you to be a better person. And she always, when she saw me laying in tears, and she said, "Never give up. You could do this." And look at her, look at me now. It wasn't because of her. I don't know what I would do. I'm very
That's a beautiful story. And I know Marisol is not the only one who can say, what a difference that Nunu and Patrick have made in their lives. It's wonderful. I want to end, we're almost out of time. Loida, I'd like to come back to you for our final question of the evening. This is another from Facebook. And the question is, how challenging has it been for you and the filmmakers to get through the night scene during coronavirus, right? When we can't do, red carpet screenings and all the rest. And will the film still be airing on PBS in the spring, as many Firefly media films are?
Yes. Well, I just want to say that Mari and Nunu, y'all have me crying over here. And I also want to say that one of the things that I've found to be really powerful in the daycare was just all the love and care that goes across every relationship, right? So yes, Nunu and Patrick are caring for the children, but the children are caring for Nunu and Patrick. The children are caring for each other. Nunu and Patrick are taking care of the mothers. The mothers are taking care of them. There's just so much interdependence, and so much love, which to me is so powerful and really I feel like a radical act given the society that we live in and all the things that we're up against, as people of color. For us to love each other and to care for each other every day is just truly inspiring, and one of the things that I kind of keep coming back to, particularly in these moments, as something that gives me hope. Um, and then, in terms of the challenges of releasing the film in the COVID-19 moment, it's been very challenging because all the sort of regular mechanisms that in terms of releasing a film. But even if you think about like musicians releasing an album, or if you're releasing a book, there are these things that we've learned to do in order to get the work out there in the world and to make it reach audiences. And many of those things are not possible. And the whole sort of industry was disoriented, really. There was a lot of sort of confusion, some sense of frustration. But I would also say, given the fact that everyone in the film is an essential worker, and even just my own personal experiences with COVID-19, having had my own mother being sick, I also didn't have a ton of time to sort of wallow in what fell apart in terms of the film industry, because there were much more kind of pressing, urgent concerns, like literally COVID-19 being at all of our front doors. And so I think for me, I was just like, okay, forget whatever went away. And well, how do we use the film to serve both the people in the film, literally, Nunu, Patrick, Marisol, Chenona, the children, and how do we use the film to also serve essential workers and single mothers and the folks that are being disproportionately impacted in this moment. So we've kind of gone into like purpose mode, like a lot of faith, a lot of surrender, and like just being guided by purpose, really. And I have to say, things in this last kind of couple of months, there's been a lot of unexpected things that have happened. I really didn't know how things were going to go with the film in this year. And as Patrick said, the response has been really phenomenal, and things that I truly did not expect or think were going to be possible are happening, right? And so, just again, faith and surrender, and just being clear on purpose, and having purpose is the North Star. That's kind of been what it's the experience of releasing the film this year.
I love that. And those themes, faith and surrender and purpose, also come through as, we're talking about essential workers and leaving your children with people who are going to be caring for them, right? You want to have that faith and surrender and purpose. So I love that. And despite the challenges that you've indicated, Loida, I mean, this film, Through the Night, was still selected for world premiere at the 2020 Tribeca Film Festival. It was still part of the 2019 Sundance Edit and Story Lab. And so we are so thankful that you stayed with it, that you had your tenacity to bring this film to light so that more of us could see it. I want to remind everyone who's watching us today that you can go and get your tickets for this film at throughthelightfilm.com/events. Please ensure you are watching this film, that you are talking it up amongst your community, your family and friends, that you're supporting the film on social media, and that we are praising the names of Nunu and Patrick. Thank you so much for joining us today. Marisol, thank you for telling your story. We are so thankful that you have a wonderful story, a triumphant story to tell, and that Loida has done it in such a beautiful way. My name is April Rain. I am thrilled and honored that I was asked to participate this afternoon. And I just encourage you all to watch Through the Night film, to go to throughthelightfilm.com/events to purchase your tickets and to share with others, and to support Firelight Media because they are truly the vanguard with respect to documentary filmmaking. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.